Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my opinion. South Africa have beaten India by 76 runs in this first Super 8 encounter. Aditya is back on the channel. What did you think about this match?
Yeah, I think we the thing is the way that India started in the power play when they got South Africa to 20 odd for three. I thought India started really well, and given South Africa's batting lineup after that, uh, I thought India had sealed the game there. I didn't expect South Africa to get around 190, to be honest. So it was pretty disappointing, the loss, and the fact that the margin and the way that they lost, they were completely outplayed in all departments. So yeah, what do you think?
You said you didn't expect them to get to under 90. In my view, I did expect it because we now go into the playing 11s. First of all, I said the team that won the toss should bat first, and that's what South Africa did when they won the toss. Looking at India's playing 11, I'd said Kuldeep Yadav should play. There should be four frontline bowlers, being Arshdeep Singh, Jasprit Bumrah, Varun Chakravarti, and Kuldeep Yadav. You've got Akshar Patel at number 7 and one of Rinku Singh and Shivam Dubey at number 6. Instead, they had played Washington Sundar in the previous match. They continued with that, citing a tactical core. They would have said left-handers, but in my view, that should not have been factored in. Akshar Patel should have played. And then they didn't play Kuldeep Yadav and went with batting depth, and we saw what the batting depth provided at the end. So, in my view, I expected them to persist with the batting depth option, but to not play Akshar Patel, I thought it was a very poor decision. And that's why, in spite of South Africa being 20 for 3, I expected them to get to 190 because of the lack of a second frontline spinner being Kuldeep Yadav. And especially also when Akshar Patel wasn't playing, Varun Chakravarti had to have a good day. The moment he didn't have a good day, India didn't have much in the middle overs, only the power play and the end overs. So that's on that. Now
See,
for the South Africa 11, I'd said George Linde should play, and Keshav Maharaj picked up 3 wickets in an over in the second innings. I'd said finger spinners would go well at this venue as per records, so I still feel Keshav Maharaj would have bowled well this match, but they're continuing to go with the four-seamer strategy. And well done to them for winning this match. Yes, I'd still say when they play in Colombo, maybe in the semi-final, if the second spinner does not feel as if the management have confidence in him, then that may not go so well for them when they're playing in such a venue, but they won today and well done to them. So now the power play for South Africa, you'd said 20 for 3. And I'd said in Ahmedabad, the seam movement will be there in the first 6 overs, and we saw that when Arshdeep Singh and Bumrah were bowling. And we saw Hardik Pandya, how well he bowled against Pakistan when he bowled in the power play. He opened the bowling and he hits the length. Even at times he did today, bowling at 130 odd kph, a low 130s. And for some reason, after that match, they've introduced him as the fourth bowler outside the power play. I think he could have bowled in the power play. What are your thoughts?
yeah. Coming to that point, I wanted to ask you about. So we saw Arshdeep Singh and Bumrah bowl two apiece in the power play, and they were getting wickets. So instead of bringing back Arshdeep for another over, why did they? Why did Surya Kumar Yadav choose to turn to Varun Chakravarti? I mean, he could have just bowled Hardik Pandya if he wanted someone else to bowl. So I think, okay, fine, you're saving 2 overs for Bumrah at the end for the end death overs, which I understand. But give Ashdeep one more over and bring Hardik Pandya in the power
No,
play.
they did.
So why?
Arshdeep did bowl. No, Arshdeep did. Arshdeep bowled 3.
Okay, so then why did Hardik Pandya not get a chance in the power play? I think Varun Chakravarti came too early. He should have. Maybe, as you said, Washington Sundar should have bowled in the power play, and Varun
No,
Chakravarti should.
in my view, spinners should not have bowled in the power play at all. And Washington Sundar, he does bowl in the power play, but in this venue, spinners go for runs in the power play. Yes, Aryan did 4 overs, 2 for 19 in the previous match. It's not going to happen all the time. I feel spinners should not bowl in the power play at this venue. And that's why we saw Varun Chakravarti. I thought he was greedily brought on. They thought 3 wickets have fallen. Let's see if he can bowl to stumps and they get bowled. And I think 11 runs went off that over. And after that point, the moment that he had gone for runs in that first over, I knew that South Africa were going to look to take more runs off him when he was going on the defensive towards the end. And India not playing a second frontline spinner meant the middle overs, there was only one bowler who was going to do the damage, and that bowler went for runs. And so I think around the midpoint, they had to rely on Shivam Dube being brought on. I've said this many times. If you're relying on Shivam Dube's bowling and saying batting depth, I don't understand, especially in a high scoring venue. If India were competitively in the chase in the second innings, which they weren't, they would not have needed number eight to bat. But they weren't in that frame of mind, and that's the reorder. And because of that, the match situation, and that's where we saw everyone had to bat. So I think it's where I don't think I think they're going to continue making this mistake, because what they'll do is they'll think the only mistake was not playing Akshat Patel, and they'll say the batting could have a bad day. That's the term everyone uses. They say bad day if you lose. And I think because of that, they'll continue to go with this approach. Do I think it's correct? No, I don't. But I think that's what they will do. What are your thoughts?
This is what I think about Shivam Dube. If Shivam Dube has to do the majority of the scoring, then something's gone really wrong with the batting. So, and even if he does score, he's not going to play any game-changing knock. He has that one shot against the spinner.
He
If
did
they
play
both
one though versus Netherlands. He scored 66. I wouldn't say he wouldn't play a game changing no, but I agree with you to say if you need him to score low down the order, that means that the top order hasn't clicked in that match.
exactly, but he played against Netherlands, yes, but look, the quality of Netherlands bowlers versus some of the other teams, you can't compare Netherlands with South Africa. I mean, it's just you can't. And Rinku Singh batting under him, he's barely had any time. We've barely seen him in the World Cup so far bat, and I think he's being underused. I mean, if he's just gonna come out for a couple balls every game to bat, then what's the point of having him in the team as well? So instead of Shivam Dube, I would say play another spinner like Kuldeep and then let Rinku bat in his place.
I'd said one of Rinku and Shundube, and according to me, if someone's at number six, then you have to get quick runs from the outset at the end. I've said even when Dube is playing for CSK, he bats better at 4 and 5 than at number six. So I also feel Rinku Singh is more suited to number six than Shivam Dube. And whichever one of them sits out, Kuldeep Yadav has to play, because what they may do is they may bring in Akshat Patel only instead of Washington and say there's the problem solved. But that still would mean as a defensive option if Varun Chakravarti doesn't go well in his 4 overs on the day. I feel an offensive option to go along with Varun Chakravarti. He can be an assurance policy, but it can also be a case where both of them bowl well. Then you've got Bumrah and Arshdeep. No matter how good the opposition's batting lineup is, no matter what the surface is like, India would have the tools to curtail the opposition and defend scores. So that is my view on that. Still, I thought 187 is an underpass score. So India could have chased it, but I felt they wouldn't, because the mentality of the way it happened, I don't think they expected to concede that many after 20 for 3. The body language, they didn't seem as if India were going to chase this score. And
Uh,
what were you
Another thing I wanted to ask you about Abhishek Sharma, he's failed 4 games in a row. I mean, you can say, oh, it's just 4 failures in a row, or it's like he's still young, it's fine, give him time. But in a tournament like this, 4 failures at the top of the order can literally dictate the whole game.
I wouldn't. The first 3, I would say, was more. The first one, I think he had a fever, and they also played to his ego a bit, where they put the fielder up at that position. And against Pakistan, I think there was a case where also Salman Aga hit it to the fielder, and the previous match. So I wouldn't say he is out of form. He's just guessing out. In this case, I don't know why he looked to play that ball to the leg side. And that was what was dismissed him. It was a slower delivery. He looked to play that ball to the leg side. I didn't think that option was there. I wouldn't say he's out of form. And 2, who are you going to replace him with? The only player who you could replace him with is, I think, maybe Sanju Samson. Who else are you going to replace him with? So That's the reason why I don't think I wouldn't drop Abhishek Sharma, and I don't think dropping him is an option. I don't think it should be an option because you see how well he's played, you see how good he is. I don't think he's out of form. He's just getting out. That short option wasn't there, so he was dismissed. And speaking on the batting lineup, we've said this in the USA review, and I'll say this again. Hardik Pandya is a fantastic player, and people who and we spoke very highly of him. Why is he batting at number 7? What are you going to 51 for 5? What are you going to gain from him walking out at the 10th over 55, 51 for 5 in 9.1 overs? And some people are saying if Akshar Patel was in, he could have batted at number 5. No. Hardik Pandya is your best player. I would say Bumrah, Varun, and then Hardik Pandya is India's best player. And I think in that situation, you said it before in the USA review, he takes a bit of time, then unleashes. The only chance India had at this point in time was Hardik Pandya to bat at number 5, take a bit of time. You could do that. You're taking an underpass score, the seam movement early on at this venue, and there was all the tools for him to be able to do that. And instead, they send him out when the match is over. I thought it was very poor, and they're going to continue doing that. I don't understand why you have a player that good, you're afraid he's going to be dismissed. And I swear, people who are comparing this floating move to Akshar Patel walking in at 5, what I would say is Washington Sundar cannot be used as a floater in the same way that Akshar Patel is used, because look at the difference in shot selection. Washington Sundar doesn't play the slog sweep as often, for example, as Akshar Patel does against the left-arm spinner. Washington Sundar is more technically sound, and I say for Gujarat Titans he should bat at number 4. But he's someone I think he should bat at number 3 for India and Test cricket as well. He's also a player who can accelerate the scoring rate. It take a bit of time then to accelerate the scoring rate, but he does so in a different way than Akshar Patel, and I don't think you can use him as a spin counter from the outset because you're looking at the shot selection that Akshar Patel goes for. It's different. And well, I think there was something which I was saying where the reason why, as I said, this wasn't because this was partly because of the left-hander, where I think Tilak Verma was dismissed, and I don't agree with that philosophy at all. And then the other thing being, why they're afraid to send Hardik Pandya early because they're afraid he will be dismissed. What are your views on that?
See, Hardik Pandya, I completely agree with you. He should be India's number 5. I mean, when he was batting with Shivam Dube, we saw they needed to accelerate at that point, and then they were just hitting singles and just rotating strike, and he was doing what he normally does when he comes early. Then, like when at the later stage of the game, when Hardik Pandya should have came in first at the start, so he should have done that, and then he would have got his confidence up, and he would have been seeing the ball well, seeing how the wicket behaves. Then he will feel confident to go over the top and take the bowling apart. So yeah, he should come in at number 5, and I think Rinku Singh should also bat higher up. I mean, I would like to see him come ahead of Shivam Dube. I don't know why Shivam
In
Dube
this,
is
yeah, but then
batting.
Shivam Dube can't play. Sorry, Shivam Dube can't play then. If he's batting that low, Shivam Dube can't play.
Yeah, then don't play him, because I'd rather bat Rinku Singh. Rinku Singh, he will make, if he bats higher up, he will have a bigger impact with the bat than Shivam Dube, I think.
When
And
he's better, I agree. Sorry, just to this point, when on their best days, I agree that Rinku Singh is better.
exactly, and you have to give him a chance to bat as well. I mean, now what's the point? He just plays a fielder in the team. He'll come in and hit maybe 12 runs off the last over, and then that's his role. And then he's just fielding, which I'd rather bring him in early. He's a better player. He has more shots than Shivam Dube, and he's a good player. He's a good player of spin. He can play pace bowling. He can play good shots. And Shivam Dube, he only has a couple shots in his book. He can't play shots like the cut shots or pull shots and stuff like that. He can't. He can only hit straight down the ground. That's the only shots that he has. And I feel like if he needs to be given a chance. Then only we can judge his performance. There's no point having someone like him batting so low.
And nothing. I don't know what they're going to do because they're preferring Shivam Dube also because he scored runs whenever he's batted, and they also bowl him. And that's the reason why I'm saying if they're going to drop one person, and you saw Rinku Singh duck today when he was sent out when the match is over, I think the only possibility they'll play Kuldeep is if they drop Rinku Singh, and they won't drop Rinku Singh. What I think they'll do is they'll bring in Akshat and say, at times the batting can have a bad day. So now we have Akshat Patel to fill in the overs at Washington. So the two more overs Washington should have bowled. Akshat can bowl and then he can be used as a floater. So we'll continue playing Hardik Pandya number 7. And I think they'll get away with it because of the opposition in the Super 8. Zimbabwe, West Indies, India will beat them. And in terms of net run rate, if you're thinking 76 runs in this match, can India beat Zimbabwe by 40 runs? Can India beat West Indies by 40 runs? Depending on what surface they're playing against West Indies. But against Zimbabwe, can they beat them by 40 runs? Yes, they can. So I still don't think this net run rate will be as much of an issue as it seems. It's a big loss in this case. But it's not over an IPL season where it's 14 matches. In this case, it's only one match and then you have two. And India
And
can win by the deficit, so I think they should be fine.
see, another thing I know I keep talking about Shivam Dube is I was watching the match, him back, and I thought at least, okay, the game is done now. We've lost the game and he's not going to win the game. At least try to get to 150, right? At least that will bring the net run rate up a little bit. He couldn't. He kept trying and trying and he couldn't. He just played out dot balls because he just couldn't hit. And then maybe in the last couple balls of the innings, he hit a six or a couple sixes. So this is why, this is where, like you said, the net run rate. I mean, they will beat Zimbabwe. I mean, India will end up, getting to the semi-finals. There's no question about that. They will beat Zimbabwe and West Indies, both of them. But it's just small things like this in a big game like the semi-finals and finals they need to think about, where they won't be facing someone like a Zimbabwe or West Indies in the semi-finals. It's going to be a better team.
But in that case, you have to get your tactics right. And if you don't play Kuldeep Yadav then, with Varun Chakravarti, if he has a bad day, then people will be asking, can he stand up in pressure situations? It was an absurd question. It's not in his control whether he can bowl the delivery. Yes, when he's brought on the wrong phase, the batting team gains a confidence because of that. Then that's not his fault. He didn't ask to be brought on that situation. He will bowl in the phase that he's brought on to bowl in.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts?
There was no reason for him to be brought on at the time that he was, because it was going well. I mean, it's like they had a thing that was going well for them, and then they just stopped it and changed the plans, and then the game literally just changed from there.
They were greedy. They did this in the previous one as well. India spinners, well, you've got Kuldeep Yadav as well, Varun in this case, and it's where when India have got three seamers, Arshdeep Singh, Jasit Bumrah, Hardik Pandya, you don't need to bowl a spinner in the power play, especially at this venue. You don't need to. And South Africa did something as far as ego is concerned, where they bowled Aiden Markram, and I thought it was a play meant for Abhishek. I didn't think it was meant for Ishan Kishan because you saw that the way Abhishek was dismissed in the previous matches. Yet Ishan Kishan forced for that, playing that shot. And I said in my previous video, and I'd said this in the review of the India-USA match, the only two venues that see movement in the power play is Mumbai and Ahmedabad. And in this case, I'd said Tilak Varma only in these venues should open the batting, Ishan at 3. However, you see the dismissal of Tilak Varma. I think the message was everyone just try to attack the bowling no matter what. And then let's see if we chase this down, because that kind of a shot that Tilak Varma played is that they didn't understand the condition. They didn't make an effort to understand the conditions at all. They just thought we can just go gung ho and we'll win the match.
Thing is with Tilak Verma is I think he's under pressure with his own performance as well, because he hasn't been doing well. I mean, people thought that he was going to make an impact, but he hasn't. And every single game we've seen him sort of struggling to get going. It's been the 20 off 20s, like a runnable 25s. He hasn't done what we'd expect from him usually. So Tilak Verma, he was under pressure. That's what's happening.
I disagree with that. In my view, if he's going to play slowly in the power play, this is the venue to do it. He's hitting an underpass score, 45 for 1 in 6 overs. What does he do? He plays that shot. And he wouldn't, in my view, he would have been directed to play that shot. They would have thought, okay, let's just underpass score, let's just use our talent and win. At the moment, the application wasn't there. It was a net session. It was an open net session. It's an innings defeat, and I think they will still recover from this. They'll qualify. They will beat Zimbabwe, West Indies minimum 35 runs each. But I
Yeah.
think what are your thoughts?
Another thing we're seeing is this weakness to like slow bowling. They're expecting, especially the openers, I'd say, they just expect pace on the ball straight away. And I feel like other teams have sort of figured that out in terms of Abhishek Sharma. He wants pace on the ball. He thrives on someone like a Rabada to go open the bowling and just or like even a Janssen. But the moment someone's slow, like we saw Markram today, he bowled, and even someone like a Lungi Ngidi, I thought he would give runs today, but he slowed the ball. He slowed it right down. I mean, the thing, he bowled like 70% of the balls as slower balls today, and he was the best in terms of economy rate. He was the best bowler there today. So this, this weakness to slow bowling is something new, and I think India should work on it if they really want to win the rest of the matches.
Yeah, they should, which is why I'm saying it's where. This is why in previous times, in previous videos, I've been saying India prefer to bat on pitches with true bounce. The moment in this case, it wasn't a typical Ahmedabad pitch that we saw in the IPL, where the average first inning score was 260. I still thought it's better to bat in the first innings than in the second innings. It seemed that way, at least with the way South Africa bowled. As you said, they bowled very well. They took pace off the ball, and that's why it seemed like an open net session throughout the innings. And I think that is something that India are going to have to deal with because they may be playing the final in Colombo, I feel, if Pakistan get their 11 right. They haven't been getting that 11 right in the last two matches, but if they get their 11 right, I think they'll be playing the final in Colombo. How they adapt their batting game to the slower services, we'll have to see. I think that's all I have on this match. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I think we've covered everything so far. Just India, one disappointing loss, which they really need to start working on certain things like their opening combination and just start playing more responsibly in general.
So now, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, share, friends. Here's our opinions. What's yours?